Welcome to Let's Talk, the Manhood Redeemed podcast. I want to thank you so much for joining us on today. My name is PeJay Lucky, and I'm the founder of the Manhood Redeemed community, a community based on faith, identity, and discipline. Thank you again for joining us, and welcome to Let's Talk, the Manhood Chapters.
There is an association and correlation that a lot of people hear when they hear the word vulnerable, they think weakness. So I like to reframe that and ask a question. If you are feeling vulnerable, how much strength does it take for you to be open and honest and not necessarily care or recognize that no matter what the person says, it's not going to break you?
Yes, sir.
Right? So it's important to recognize that vulnerability is a strength. It is not a weakness. Vulnerability means that you're being honest and you are taking that step to be transparent and open.
Yes, sir.
That's strong.
Very strong.
Because no matter what PeJay says to me in this moment, it's not going to break me.
Yes, sir.
But we have to remind ourselves of that.
Man, that's so powerful. And I know you were going on to another point, but I just want to pause there because it does take strength. But I also want to encourage folks to take wisdom on who you're vulnerable with.
Mm-hmm.
If you know Uncle Tito is crazy, and when I say crazy, it may have his own trauma, it may have its own insecurities, may not be in a healthy mental place or spiritual place. There's certain things it doesn't make sense to be vulnerable about because he may not be able to relate or connect you because he's dealing with his own stuff.
Yeah.
So as Dr. Berwise mentioned, again, you want to find those people that are in a place that can give you that guidance, that healthy guidance, that holistic healthy guidance that's going to help your life. So again, I just wanted to pause there because many times, especially we may say something to somebody and we hate what they said back to us, but it's like, bro, you know they got issues, and I'm not judging them for it, but they're dealing with their own stuff, whether it was mom, dad, pop, whoever it was. So just using wisdom about who you're connected with and who you're open up to, but I highly encourage you to find that place where you can be vulnerable. And man, you're right, it takes strength, but you have it. If you're one of those men that want to rise up, that want to be healed, that want to tap into that strength that you know you have on the inside, we are now offering Redeemed Leadership Coaching, which is a one-on-one experience, focused and personalized to make sure that you're tapping in to the faith, your identity, and the discipline that you need to level up. If you're interested, hit the link below. My name is PeJay Lucky, and this is the Manhood Redeemed community. I know you were going toward another point, I believe, to conclude with that finding healing. Where were you headed, Dr. Berwise?
So ultimately finding healing. Yes, being transparent, being vulnerable. And then once you're getting this feedback, being intentional about the actions that you're going to do afterwards. And yes, it's about being intentional about it because it's probably going to be something different than what you have been doing. So it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like a challenge. It's going to feel like something you don't want to do. But because you believe it's going to be the next step to get you to your purpose, to moving you from stuck to unstuck, to moving you in actual progress, it's important to have that intentionality to do it. So it needs to be a dedicated action.
Got to be action.
Got to be a dedicated action.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And sometimes that dedicated action is being intentional and saying like, hey, I'm going to think about this situation in a different way. That is a dedicated action.
Man, I'm feeling kind of vulnerable right now. I may need to share a moment about that.
Okay.
It's so interesting. I didn't grow up with my father consistently in my life. And many times I would wonder, man, why? Right. And really I took it as, I was taking it as a negative moment. And a great family member, also a great spiritual advisor, said to me, I think you need to reconsider how you may be looking at this situation. And when they said that to me, they encouraged me to think about, well, if your father was in your life, would you be who you are today? And that lens alone really shifted my thought process.
Yeah.
And this is nothing against my father, but he has his own stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he has dealt with his own stuff where I could have been exposed to some of the unhealthy behaviors that he has had to work through, which could have socialized me
Right.
to be connected to some
Right.
unhealthy behaviors.
Right.
Right. So that lens, man, is so huge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is, right? The way that we perceive things impacts how we feel about it and ultimately the actions that we're going to take afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that lens is it's important. And then once again, like you spoke about a family member, a spiritual leader in your family. This is why it's important to talk to others and have community.
Yes.
Because they may also have the same point of reference.
Yeah.
But it could also be like, you know what? There's a different way to think about this situation. Because you don't always know what's going on.
Yeah. Very true.
And you can't control others, but what you can control is how you respond to certain situations. And the way that you can respond to situations is by thinking about it. Now, once again, that doesn't mean you let any and everybody in your business. That doesn't mean that you associate regularly with anyone, because it's also important to have boundaries and protect your peace.
Yes.
That's another conversation for another time. But the perspective that you have on things, you control that.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that said, I want to encourage someone that may be thinking about their past the wrong way, right? We may think about our past in a way that we think was just detrimental and maybe have been worse. And we may have disappointed not others, but ourselves in certain situations. And a lot of times that's we start to feel stuck because of those reasons, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to us maybe feeling inferior. But I just want to encourage someone to think about, you've gone through what you've gone through for a reason. And what you've gone through, the talents, the gifts that you have, the reason that you've been able to be resilient and even be here right now is for a reason. Manhood Redeemed specifically, we stand on faith, right? Meaning that we believe that all things work together.
Mm-hmm.
That despite what has ever happened to you in the past, if you begin to change your lens and how you see things, things will get greater.
Mm-hmm.
Things will get better because you are perceiving them in a different route. And that goes back to what we kind of started with: faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Lord. Again, y'all know I'm faith-based and faith-grounded. So I just believe that God really has a greater purpose for us, and that despite whatever we've gone through, we can make it. That he cares about us, that he loves you, man, that he has some great things ahead of you. And despite whatever doors may have been closed, that doesn't mean it's over. Again, I think it was, he's a motivational speaker, but he talked about so many doors being closed to him until the right one was open.
Right. All it takes is one. Mm-hmm.
All it takes is one.
Mm-hmm.
So despite what you've gone through, I want to encourage you to push on, to believe, and really, I want to highlight also to know who you are, right? Again, you are not your past. You are not your past, but you have been created. You've been created in God's image. You are crowned with his glory. You have been created to go far, to do well. And despite even some of your actions in the past, including all of us, right? Mm-hmm. They don't define who you are. It may have been who you were, but not who you are. And lastly, actions is what you mentioned, Dr. Berwise.
Yeah.
What actions are you willing to take to go forward? So you may have been feeling stuck, but you don't have to stay there. Are you willing to do that internal work? Are you willing to find help? You may need to sit down with somebody. What you've gone through may not be normal. Someone may be normalizing it, but it may not be normal. Sometimes we're grieving and we don't even know it. So, man, I want to encourage you, if you don't have a counselor, if you don't have a therapist, if you're not talking with your spiritual leader, if you're not talking with that wise person in the family, find someone who you can talk to that has wisdom, man, and that's going to really point you in that right direction. You don't have to do it alone. I want you to know this is Manhood Redeemed. We love you. We appreciate you. And our hope is that you accept your redemption. Be a king. Thank you. With that said, I want to thank Dr. Berwise so much for being with us on today. I really appreciate you and all that you've done and all the work. I mean, this was amazing. I hope that Dr. Berwise, he's in New Jersey. I don't know if he's accepting clients. I'm just putting him out there right now. He's licensed in New Jersey and maybe a few other states.
If you're licensed in Delaware, I got you.
There we go. There we go.
If you're looking for services and you're staying in Delaware, I got you.
There we go. So he's definitely doing some great work. But we're also talking through other opportunities where we may be able to have some support groups, not clinical, because we don't want to mess up his license, but some support.
But we can have some critical conversations.
Some critical conversations, yes. Where we can have some real conversations and really do this thing together. With that said, I know we're live now. I want to open up the floor for some questions. And then we got a few questions in the chat. Here we go. Do you have any tips, Dr. Berwise, on how to be more vulnerable with your compadres when societal standards says it's not manly to do so? You mentioned being stuck as a choice. So let's start there, and then we'll go to the next one.
Right. So this question is really impactful because it talks about expectations, societal expectations, right? And these expectations were also developed in a time when the world looked really different.
Okay.
The world looked really different. This idea of men are supposed to be stoic, supposed to keep everything to their chest. The world was a very different place at that time. So if you want to continue to subscribe to that, you also have to accept that you're ascribing to older things. But what I will say is, if it's your group, once again, it requires taking that risk. It's putting it out there first, putting yourself out there first, seeing who responds, seeing if anyone responds. And if no one responds, you have a choice to make. Do you want to continue to put yourself out there? Are these just the friends that I could be fun with? Like, what is the role of these particular group of friends? Maybe there's one in there that you can have that one-on-one conversation with, and instead of being open and vulnerable with the entire group, you just have that one person that you got to have the silent conversation with. But it's not in the group chat. So now you got to take another avenue. Maybe you got to call them. Maybe you got to send them that separate text message.
Yeah.
Maybe they hit you up on the side, but they hit you up on the side because you're the first one to take that risk. And now we're talking about, once again, vulnerability. Now, ask yourself that question. How strong do you have to be that no matter what they say or do, they're not going to break you?
Yeah.
So remember that.
Man, now we can go real deep in that societal thing. I don't know if everybody's ready for that because, the current society in the U.S. right now, I mean, it was really stemmed from a colonized version of society, a patriarchal version of society. And we won't even talk about other governmental officials and how they display their version of manhood, and how that, I think, has been very toxic for folks to model. But we don't have time for that. We got another question for you right now. But I just want you to encourage you to know who you are, right? Again, you may not be who society has said you are, especially if you're a man of color. We'll talk about that another day. Next question. Here we go. You mentioned being stuck as a choice. What would you say is the first step, I believe they meant to say, to get out of that phase? The first step is always the hardest.
Yes, for sure. That first step is slowing down, because a lot of the times we just kind of in the rat race and we're continuing doing the same things that we're doing. So we have to really slow down to kind of stop and just reflect.
Yeah.
And then reflect on our situation and reflect on the role that we are playing in that situation. I think that's often the part that goes missed, where we're like, this is where I am, this is what I'm stuck in, but we don't necessarily think about what we're doing to contribute to that. Because like I said before, you may not necessarily be able to change the environment or what's around you, but you can change the role that you play within it. Or in stopping and reflecting, you recognize that the environment is the reason why you are stuck. And now, once again, you have a choice to make. Do you want to continue to be in that? And if you are continuing to be in that, how is that working towards your overall goal and your overall purpose? Remember, when I was in graduate school, I was stuck. I could have left graduate school. I wasn't about to do that, though.
No.
Because, once again, it was tied on to my greater purpose. It was tied on to a larger goal that I had. But it really required me to stop, self-reflect. And it could be journaling. I always encourage people to, like, everybody got a smartphone nowadays. Most smartphones have like a voice recording kind of situation, whether that's a voice note. I encourage people to just start talking. Like, it's a form of journaling that I feel like is just super therapeutic, and anyone could do it at any time. And why I encourage people to do it in an audio format is because there's no stopping and getting fixated on misspelling a word. It's a stream of consciousness. And I stutter a lot. And I like to stop and I like to think because I have to think critically. So I can be one of those people who will get like caught up on one of the words and then forget like the stream of thought that I was going at. If you are just talking, you are letting yourself go. Let yourself be free in that moment and then listen to it again and think about what you're saying. That is a way of stopping and reflecting and then recognizing what is the role that you're playing in there. And if you can't recognize the role that you're playing in there on your own, that's where, once again, I suggest that you go to trusted people that make you feel safe. And being very direct with the questions like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I'm curious about what is the role that I am playing in this situation right now. If you don't feel comfortable saying it directly, therapists do this all the time. I got a close friend who is in this position and this is what they have going on. Mm-hmm. Any advice that you think I could give them?
Yeah.
They ain't got to know it's you.
That's very true.
They don't have to know it's you. True. So that I think that's a good first step for anyone in that direction. Even though I gave you steps 1 and 2.
Man, that was a great practice of reflection that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. I really like that. I just want to spotlight that. That's great.
Yeah.
Just to record yourself talking.
Yeah.
And then go back and listen to it. That's pretty powerful because you can really listen to where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Right? Exactly. 100%.
You may not know how angry or upset you really are, or, you know, I know counselors don't use this language, or how crazy you may sound.
I don't know what that word
is. So, yeah. You know, or how unhealthy you may sound. There we go.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, you don't recognize how you're coming across in that moment. You don't know. Yeah. But, you know, modern day resources, which we got to recognize have been helpful. Technology is fantastic in that way.
Yes.
And while technology in some ways keep people in separate, there are still ways that can continue to help you in building community.
Yeah. Man, we got another. Is this let me see. Here we go. It's a comment. I'm just going to highlight the comment.
Sure.
Thank you for your reflections today from you both. You sort of just spoke to it. But can you talk about why the truth is important, even when it's difficult? Oh man, that's even when it's difficult. You know, I'm gonna give you some time to think, Doc. I just want to keep it real. I have an uncle, right? I got an uncle who there were times where I know he was one of the people. He's one of the people that I confide in. But I know I needed to talk with him. But I didn't want to talk with him because I didn't want to face the truth. And I remember many times there was conversations where, especially with relationships, where I'm like, maybe I'll talk to him. But I was afraid to be vulnerable. And I was afraid to hear the truth. Even if I knew it was going to be for my good, I was going into a place of just wanting to be content, right? In avoidance. But it's those moments of truth that at times hurt, or at times where I felt like I wanted to reject it. Those moments of truth built character. Those moments of truth launched me to thinking even greater many times about myself. Because many times in those conversations, I was settling. Dr. Berwise, I know you may have something more clinical than that. I'm just sharing a story about me and my uncle.
Sometimes you don't need to be clinical, you just need to be honest. And that's also part of the reason why I sometimes struggle in graduate school, because it's so clinical. I thought that was fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, PeJay.
Yes, sir.
The biggest, the only thing that I can add to that, because I think that was a great representation of why the truth is important.
Yeah.
Is because, one, it takes work to live a lie. It takes work to live a lie. And we only have but so much capacity in life. So if you want to continue to live a lie, that's on you. Another thing is, being a man is hard enough as it is because of all these different things, especially if you're living a life that's like dedicated to the purpose. I'm a big fan of trying to help my clients and myself be able to be free as much as possible. And when you're being genuine, when you're being honest, when you're being truthful, that's another opportunity for freedom.
Yes, sir.
That's another way of releasing a burden that you may not have recognized was the case, but like it's allowing you to be free in that way. So that way you can use those resources that you were using for that lie in another way. But ultimately, I think it really just kind of comes down to honesty is or the truth about you. You ain't really lying to nobody but yourself. Right. And you can't make changes if you aren't being honest and authentic with yourself.
Yeah, that's powerful. It takes work to live a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you know, if you're going to pay and put some work in, you might as well let it be for your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You might as well let it be for the truth. That's only going to help you long term.
Mm-hmm.
Lies so many times I feel like people get caught up with, and it's a temporary fix, but it can't last.
Right.
Right. So awesome.
Right. So yeah, if you're talking about long-term outcomes, it's okay to be honest. It's expected to be honest. If it's a little short-term situation, like my pastor used to tell a story, if someone broke into your house and you on the first floor and your wife and your child are upstairs sleeping, you want to tell them the truth that there's other people in the house? No, because you want to protect them. But that's a short-term situation. Right? In that case, tell that lie. Tell that lie. And I think we just got to be honest, right? There's no clinical thing about that. Tell that lie. Protect the people that you love. But, the reason why I'm bringing that up is...
That's another conversation right there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's another conversation. I'm going to leave that nugget alone.
Only because I think that could be flipped, where many times we tell lies to protect ourselves, right? And that protection usually deals with insecurity. Like, why are you avoiding the truth? It's because something inside of you doesn't want to accept what's going on, or the choices that you make can be better, and it's something inside of you calling for something greater, but you're looking to protect what you think you are, but not who you really are. Right. We gotta go. We gotta go.
We done opened up a new conversation.
We gotta go. Protect. Yeah, we gotta go. You know what? I want to say thank you all so much for your time, everyone that has tuned in. We really appreciate you, Dr. Berwise. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for stopping by the studio on today. I really appreciate your time. And I just want to encourage men again. I want to encourage you to not avoid the truth. I want to encourage you to know that you don't have to be stuck, and that there is community for you, and that be willing to be vulnerable. Thank you so much, Dr. Berwise. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you all.
If you're ready to level up your mindset, your discipline, and your purpose, the new self-mastery guides are being released. These are more than just booklets, but these are frameworks to help guide you to reclaim who you really are meant to be. I encourage you to hit these links below if you really want to hone in on your faith, your identity, and your discipline. These are for you. This is sponsored by the Manhood Redeemed community, and I am PeJay Lucky. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for watching the Let's Talk podcast, the Manhood Chapters. Make sure you visit manhoodredeemed.com for resources designed to strengthen your journey. Also, follow @PeJay Lucky on every social platform to stay connected.